Well, another trial. It has now been more than 7 years since the murders of two teenage girls in Delphi. It's a shocking crime that rocked that small Indiana town and gained the attention of true crime sleuths all across the nation. Richard Allen now charged in the deaths of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. The two best friends went for a hike along a wooded trail on a day off from school back in February of 2017. And German's cell phone capturing video of a man who approached the girls that day. Chilling audio heard ordering them to, quote, go down the hill. Prosecutors say Richard Allen is the man in that video. Now, he has pleaded not guilty. He has been locked up for 2 years since his arrest. His jury selection is now getting underway today. The trial is being held about 100 miles from Delphi, and opening statements are scheduled to begin as early as Thursday. So joining me now, legal analyst and trial attorney Misty Marris. Misty, great to see you. I know you're so familiar with this case, but first, before we start, I would like to listen to that cell phone audio. Let's listen to that. All right, so this clip had so many people stumped. We hear the sound. We see the video there. Misty, we know the judge has set aside 3 full days to select 12 jurors and 4 alternates. What do you think will be the biggest challenges?
The biggest challenge is really going to be the fact that this case has been pending for 7 years. So looking at this timeline, 2017, the deaths occur. Richard Allen is not arrested until 2022. And then there was a long delay actually getting to the point of the trial because of various procedural issues, potentially removing of his counsel, then being reinstated. Needless to say, it's been a long road here. And when you have a long road and a high profile case, even though we're out of the actual county where these horrible killings took place and it's been moved to another county in order to hopefully seat a non-biased jury, it's still a difficult process to get individuals who have not formulated an opinion with everything that's been out there while this case has been capturing all of our attention.
You know, and the jury, we know, will be sequestered for the entirety of this trial. How does sequestering potentially impact what happens, especially if this trial goes longer than planned?
Right. Well, so far, the trial is planned to be about a month, Nichole. Think about that. So they're already thinking that it's going to be a month long and the jury is going to be sequestered during that time. Well, that certainly speaks to how many eyes are on this case and that there is a fervent push to make sure that the jury is not having outside influences while they're sitting there making the deliberations about what's going on in the courtroom, especially when there's been so many eyes on this case. And Nichole, one of the issues and one of the reasons why we cover high profile cases all the time, sequestering a jury is definitely a more extreme measure that the court takes in these high profile cases. But remember, there was leaked evidence. There were leaked photographs that almost resulted in his defense attorneys having to be forcibly removed from the case. But because there were leaks, because that happened, now we're talking about the road to trial having been so bumpy. The court's really taking every precaution to keep that jury to what's into the courtroom and not what's going on in the public.
And Misty, you know, what is going to be the biggest challenges for both sides here, for both the prosecution and the defense?
Well, let me talk about the defense first, because this is the easy one, right? There are 61 alleged confessions that Richard Allen made while he was behind bars. And the defense fought very, very hard to keep these jailhouse phone calls, these jailhouse communications out of the courtroom. But the judge has ruled that they're all coming in. So the defense is already in. We hear it a little bit during jury selection. We can tell where they're going. And also they've made arguments leading up to trial that they're going to try and establish that these statements were made under duress. So that is a very difficult challenge that the defense has, especially since it is incredibly unlikely that Richard Allen takes the stand. So how they're going to shift that narrative, that's going to be very, very tricky for the defense. Now, from the prosecution's perspective, one thing we still don't know to this day is exactly how Abby and Libby were killed. We don't have those details. That has not been released publicly. And so much of what the prosecution's challenge is going to be is relating any kind of a more objective and forensic evidence. It doesn't appear that the evidence is direct, and I'm opining on that because of what I'm hearing coming out of jury selection. The questions about well, can you draw conclusions based on what you see, as opposed to more specific direct evidence. So that prosecution's really going to have to tie that all together, where it's likely the defense is going to try and say you didn't prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt.
And just really quickly, something you said there, you do not think Alan will likely take the stand?
I think it would be incredibly problematic. It's always a game time decision. Keep in mind that the lawyers make this determination after the prosecutors put on their case, weigh both sides. But in this case, with those taped confessions, those jailhouse calls, I do not see him taking the stand.
All right, yeah, we will certainly see what happens. Always appreciate your input, legal analyst, trial attorney Misty Marris. Thank you so much.
Thank you.